How does a shy French software engineer turn a personal challenge into a powerful tool for public speaking, leadership, and global entrepreneurship? Hi there, Tanja here, and welcome to TP Talks Working Globally, where we explore some fascinating people and journeys of global citizens who have reinvented themselves across borders and cultures. Today, I'm particularly happy to welcome Geoffrey Huck, or Geoffrey Huck in English, if you will, sorry, once a software engineer and now a global public speaking coach. His journey spans from tech, travel, and transformation, helping multilinguals and multilingual professionals find their voice and confidence on international stages. Hi, Geoffrey. It's great to have you here.
Hello, Tanya. Hello. I'm very happy to be here with you on TP Talks. Hello, everyone.
Thank you. Now, let's start with your story. Can you share your story on where you were and what made it you decide to pack up your bags, leave France, and go abroad?
Oh, yes. So you mentioned, Tanya, in your intro that I started as a shy software engineer. And shy is an understatement. Many people are shy when they're young, but when I was 25, I was still hiding in my apartment when my neighbor was in the corridor because I feared I would not know what to tell them. I couldn't go to the bakery, so it was really, really, really hard. That's what can happen, I imagine, when you're so passionate about computers, which was my case. So those skills didn't develop naturally, and it took me a long while to realize that I needed to do something if I wanted to have a great life. I wanted to have a great life, something interesting going on at least. I was inspired by books that I read. Maybe you heard of Paulo Coelho, The Alchemist, other books. And the main topic on those books that depict a journey and adventure is that the hero goes into other countries. He travels, he has adventures. For me, that's what triggered my first attempt to overcome my shyness. It took a while, obviously, but it was by a few travels. And then a few years after, it was a little bit better, but was still very shy at that time. It was becoming a digital nomad. I would say that was my second big turning point. I was backpacking in Asia with my laptop, trying to work for my customers in France when I had a little bit of time. It was very hard to find the right balance. I only did it for about 6 months. But it was really, I can say that it was transformational. Maybe after we will talk more about how exactly. And my third turning point, this was only about 1 year ago. So many things changed since I was this shy software engineer. I went out of myself. I became a public speaking coach. I started to give talks. So obviously not the same person anymore. I'm married. I have a child. But I was moving to Germany with my family, which
Wow.
was a lot harder than what I thought, because coming from France, and especially Tanya, from Strasbourg, where you can go to Germany in 10 minutes with a tram, I thought it would be very easy to go because there is the European Union and it's like just the next door country. And it was so hard.
I believe you.
So that's where I am today. Nowadays, I'm still in Germany, learning the language and developing my business further.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. From Alsace or Strasbourg to Asia and back to France and now into Germany. Wow, it's quite a whirlwind. But let's back up a little bit. What's interesting that you mentioned is that you were that when I say shy, you said that's an understatement, that you were really pretty much by your own very passionate about uh, being a computer engineer. And what I wanted to talk a little bit about is being very passionate and being very fearful of meeting others. How did that, we all think and dream big, but passing into action, that's like it's another stage. What, I hear that you read the book, The Alchemists, and that got you going, but what made it pass you into action, which is a really tough part because, as well for me, how do you pass into action?
Yeah, the book wasn't the trigger. Actually, I thought about the book only a few years after having reading it, so the book was definitely not the trigger. When I had this social anxiety that was in all domain, if my phone would ring, I would freak out and not take the call, wait for days sometimes before asking a customer for some materials or questions that I could have. I was a freelancer, so it was more than 10 years ago. It wasn't very as common as it is today to be able to work from home, but somehow I found a way to be on my own, alone, without having to go in an office or anything like this, which which made it harder, obviously, because there are many things in life that you develop only when you don't have the choice. But if you have the choice to stay all the time at home and not facing your fears and discomfort, why would you do it? So, Tanya, to tell you the truth, I also did mistakes to overcome this social anxiety, because what is the usually what people go to when they have those intense anxiety? Well, there's alcohol, there are other substances that can help you open up and talk to people, and you might think that it works, and you might even think that it's the only way to do it. In fact, it's an illusion. It makes the problem worse. So my trigger was to really embarrass myself big time in one of those situations, and the next day realizing that that's not me. I did some big mistake, big blunder, and I realized that couldn't be me. I have
Mm,
to change. That's not it. And I realized that the problem didn't fix himself at all in the past few years. It even grew bigger, which is what problems usually do. If you don't care of a problem, usually it grows until it
mm,
gets completely
yeah.
unbearable. So that was my trigger.
Okay, wow, that's fascinating. Thank you so much for being so honest and authentic and sharing that, because that can be very much present very quickly. It goes very quick. But something that you mentioned is that when you don't have a choice and you want to do what feels right, so the mind and the feeling right, kind of the alignment propulses you into that international rocket, right?
Oh yes. Oh yes. So to tell you, Tanya, no, I feel that this social anxiety was a blessing. But this is something you can only
Oh,
see years ahead. Because at
right.
that time I decided that I didn't want just to be not shy. I wanted to be completely free, like
Uh,
completely. So that was the I think that was the drive that enabled me to do so many things that were beyond just talking to people I didn't know. And I know that I would never have developed the skills that I have today. I would never do the type of job that I do today if I didn't have a social anxiety that was so intense.
well, that's pretty amazing. Thanks for sharing that. I think it's once again, it's important to put words on those feelings and really, think what you're gonna do with that. Now, having said that and launching, what I would be interested is, of course, then you're out there and challenges are everywhere, left, right, up, down, 360 degrees. What I'd love to know from you, what were some like aha moments, and aha moments, be it oh my God, I shouldn't do that, or oh my God, this is great, I'm really proud of myself. What would be some big aha moments and big learning moments, especially?
Most of us, if not all of us, when we find ourselves in a situation where we feel discomfort, we tend to do something to remove the discomfort. Give you a few examples to really describe what I mean. If you are talking to someone and then suddenly you don't know what else to talk, you have a big blank in the conversation, many people would start to feel a lot of discomfort. And then either they will walk away or they will try to come up with something completely immediate and usually not very interesting. There can be other situations. If you're on stage, for example, you might start to feel a lot of pressure and then you want to run away, or you will not even go on stage and talk. If you meet someone, you see someone at an event or in the street that you really want to talk to for some reason, maybe it's professional, or maybe you just find this person very attractive and you feel this intense pressure and you walk away, think that maybe it's not the right time, or it's always the same. You feel discomfort and you try to remove it. And what I found is that those situations are very key. And instead of doing something that will make you feel better, you could decide to stay with the discomfort or even increase it. That's how you overcome your fears. And that's how you create a lot of meaning. I found by doing this, finding discomfort, really like, okay, so what can I do now that I would be scared to do? It creates meaning, it creates possibilities, it gives you confidence, makes you overcome any kind of anxiety, of fears. That's really big. But I wouldn't say it's one aha moment, because unfortunately or fortunately, it's something that you have to do again and again and again and again and again. But the first time you do it on purpose, because you realize what you're doing, that's a aha moment. Yeah, it's applicable to everything. Learning a language and talking to people, when you don't master the language, yeah, there's discomfort. So that's exactly what you should do. If you fear talking in a meeting because you're not sure and you would have, maybe you want to think more of what you want to say, no, if you feel the discomfort, it means that that's what you have to do.
Wow, that's a pretty powerful statement, to welcome discomfort. How do you put those discomfort shoes or that discomfort suit on, or almost like force it on yourself? I mean, what kind of mind prep? How do you prep yourself for welcoming discomfort when you don't speak a language, or going into a culture where it's completely different from yours?
You don't think. You don't think about why. You don't think about what you will say. You don't think of anything. You just do. In those moments, usually it's in the moment that you have discomfort, and then the decision must be nearly instantaneous. If you start to think at that time, most likely you will not do it. So you have to decide who you want to be in this world. Do you want to be courageous, or do you want to let life pass by without something that worked for me is to imagine myself 40 years in the future, let's say at 80, 90 years old, and then to realize what life would I want to see from from that point of view.
Uh-huh.
That do I want to be that this person who took the easiest path, who just was cruising, and or was I someone who who did what he was scared to do, maybe failed many times on the way, but at least have stories and an adventure to share. So I think it's a fundamental choice uh, of choosing courage over comfort.
Wow. Okay. That's pretty powerful stuff. You have to choose courage because absolutely, it's very courageous to be courageous, to choose courage and to go into that discomfort zone, having to think about in 40, 50, 60 years when I'm on that rocking chair, will I have regret? Because regret is an ugly friend. It's like an ugly friend that you, this is of course my view on it, because in the past when I am a certain age, and I will not admit that there is one regret that I have in my life, and that when it comes out, it looks pretty nasty. It produces really
Mm.
undesirable feelings, which makes me want to kind of close in and be on my own, which is not my choice, although I have the tendency to, but I don't want to. Having said that, you basically say, okay, this is how I want to be when I'm old. I don't want to have regrets. I'm going to go into it, and you're moving. So you're constantly moving. You're not thinking about it anymore. So any and all experiences, you just go into that black tunnel and you just go for it. You don't have any expectations. You go and you hope for the best. Would you say that's kind of it, or am I trying to pigeonhole you? Probably.
Yeah, what I found is that if you have expectations while you do something that you fear, you might start to create a very negative story.
Mm.
Because when you do something that you fear, there is so much emotional, it's so intense inside your body that if you want to, on top of that, control the situation and master what will come out of it, most likely you will fail and you will never try again anymore. So yeah, being detached for outcomes. I think this one is very, very. I have a rule. If I do something that is scary, I'm satisfied. Period. I tell my customers. So I work for some of my customers have social anxiety, and I tell them that if you go talk to someone in the street and you get punched back, you have to be proud because you won, because you did something that you were scared to do. So no matter what happens, you do something that feels scary, you're satisfied. It doesn't mean that you will do it again and again, because sometimes you try something and you realize, I did it. It's nice, but it's not something that I want to do it again. But that's fine. But yeah, that's the rule. If you do it, satisfied.
Wow, I wish I had all of that courage. I have to say that maybe I have 80% of what you have.
To be honest, Tanya, it started with very small things.
Mhm.
We always think of the big courageous things, but usually you start with very small things, and it was my case. I started just by going to a bakery and order something that I never ordered before because that was scary for me. So I did really, it's really step by step. Then speaking to people, maybe in the street, maybe in a transportation, networking events, speaking on stage. It's always small step, and then you build up, you build up, you build up. So it's really just an extension. And to be honest with you, Tanya, every once in a while I have a big moment, big situation, very scary, and then I tell myself, "So stupid are you to have chosen the courageous path?" But then I get up and I do it.
And I bet you sleep well afterwards, right?
Oh
Because
la
you
la
did
la
it.
la. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yeah. But
You
it really
know,
builds up.
mm,
You,
mhm.
I mean, I don't know if you can snap your fingers and be the most courageous person on the planet. I'm not saying that you cannot do that, but it definitely wasn't what I did. It was very small step after very small step.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think this is such a valuable point because, and this your example on the bakery reminds me of way back when I came to France. We didn't live in Strasbourg. We lived in Nancy, and although I had French, I learned French in school. Balzac did not teach me how to find a job, how to buy bread, or how to find a doctor. And I had to buy bread. And I spent about a good 15, 20 minutes in the bakery. And I just stood there. Fortunately, it was a big bakery. It wasn't one of those small ones, and people saying, "Un baguette, s'il vous plaît, un baguette bien cuite," saying what kind of bread you want. And I was like, just watching and observing because I'm a very visual person. I need to be like in a situation to kind of see and then get the courage to go. So after 15 minutes, I finally found the courage. I repeated the little sentence because I wanted the bread to be crunchy outside and soft in the inside. So it was the phrase was, "Je voudrais une baguette, pas trop cuite, s'il vous plaît." This was the
Ah
sentence
oui.
that took me 15 minutes. But I did it. So I finally got the courage. And it was my turn. And of course the lady said, "Well, what would you like?" I said, "Une baguette pas trop cuite, s'il vous plaît." And then all of a sudden, guess what? I got the supplementary rush and then I said the stupidest thing. And I asked if the bread has preservatives. But in French, when you say, "Est-ce qu'il y a des préservatifs dans ce pain?"
Ah là 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 là.
You're basically saying, "Are there condoms in the bread?" Well,
Ah.
I took my bread, and she screamed at me. I ran, and that was the last time that bakery saw me. So all of this to say is that courage is courage is important, and it's also important to know when to run. But having said that, my one of the last questions, or almost last questions, I mean, this can go on forever, is okay, so you've got the courage, you get yourself going. What would be some tips and tricks for people who are reading and writing a lot, but not speaking the language and launching into it and starting to talk with other people? What would be some tips and tricks that you could share that work for you, of course,
Yes.
as well?
Now that I move in Germany and I'm in the process of learning the language, I realized that this is a perfect situation, and it would have been perfect for me a few years ago to do those little challenges. When you learn a language, everything is a challenge. Talking to buying bread in a foreign language, it's very hard. All the conversation usually involve stepping out and being ready to face failure or losing your words or not being understood. So that's perfect for you. If you are in another country with a language that you don't know, you can use that. You can use all that we talked about during this discussion and apply it learning the language. So do what feels a little bit scary all the time. Maybe it's just saying hi to your neighbor. Maybe it's asking a question at work in the new language. Maybe it's going to an event in the local language instead of the expat types of events. You have so many possibilities. My
Mm.
advice is just find things that feel hard, where there's discomfort, and enjoy the journey, because every time you do something that feels a little bit scary, your confidence gets up. And so it's the hardest is to get going. And to get going, there is no other way that to start with the very broken and knowledge, the very broken and baby types of speaking language that you have right now. And you don't need to spend more time with books. You need to, if you can say hello and thank you and have a nice day, you should already be using it talking to people.
Sound advice, sound advice. I remember back in Toastmasters when you were president of Toastmasters in Strasbourg and where we met. I think you just came back or you were between between airplanes between France and Asia. And I remember you telling me that you also speak some languages that are not French nor German. And we talked about not just the language and the culture, the kind of the how the two come together, and they're not independent, but they actually kind of work together, or you kind of have to be flexible. Having said that, for those who are very much shy and have this social anxiety or just anxiety, simple anxiety, is how can, beside being courageous, because for some of us, scariness just pushes us more back than front. How could we look at language and culture and launching into it like in a baby step, in a way that is not as scary, we could say, okay, this is all right, I can do it, but this is too scary, I'm not going to do it. What would be your advice on that?
So you're the best to know what's the first step, because it needs to be something that's scary but not too much. But I would suggest, if you want to start with something a little bit easier, to go to a language exchange event, because
Okay.
people are there to speak the language. They expect that you're very bad at it. So if you have some relation with your neighbor, it can be your neighbor. But if you really don't know anyone, language exchange event can be a very good first step.
Sound advice, sound tips. Thank you so very much, Geoffrey, for sharing your personal journey, wisdom, and absolute inspiration with us today. It's been such a pleasure hearing you, how you've carved your unique path, international path, and how you help others do the same. Now, before we go, can you tell us more? What are your next events, happenings, and where can listeners reach you?
Yes, Tanya, it was very nice for me too. I really enjoyed this discussion. I'm on LinkedIn. Most of the things that I do, I share on LinkedIn. So that's the place to be.
Great. Thank you. And for those of you who are watching this live, if you want more information, I will include the links right below this live, so you can click away and get in contact with Geoffrey. He's just a DM away. And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us here on TP Talks Working Global. We hope you found a golden nugget or three to guide you on your own international adventure today. But make sure to follow me for more stories right here that shine a light on life and careers across cultures. Until next time, take care. And as the great Casey Kasem said, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. Thank you, Geoffrey. Thank you to everybody.
Thank
Have a great
you.
day. Bye bye.